So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us, and welcome to Excellence Canada's 40th anniversary semi-annual Thought Leaders Roundtable. This is our Ruby Jubilee anniversary, 40th anniversary of the Canada Award for Excellence, which we're celebrating this year. And we try to have a semi-annual Thought Leaders Roundtable. I know we missed one in the end of last year for a variety of reasons, and sometimes we may have missed it during COVID. But we're trying to get back on track with the semi-annual Thought Leaders Roundtable. And today we have a fantastic panel that I'll be introducing you in a short while. First of all, my name's Alan Ebedes. I'm the President and CEO of Excellence Canada. And it's hard to believe that I'm in the 18th year of my 3-year contract. When I joined, I signed a 3-year contract. That was 18 years ago. Somebody forgot to check the contract. And I didn't, but when I joined, I don't think I had so much of this gray stuff. I think it was more ginger. Sure, but that's not from stress over here. It's just I can't blame that on Excellence Canada or that National Quality Institute, as we used to be called before I rebranded it to Excellence Canada. So anyway, welcome. And the topic for today is learning from the success and best practices from the Canada Award or from Canada Award for Excellence recipients. We're very delighted to have 4 Canada Award for Excellence recipients today, all in the public sector. Today's all public sector. So we have Carleton University, City of Kamloops, Beaufort Delta Divisional Education Council, where I believe it's snowing, still there, Devin tells me, and Canadian Forces Housing Agency in Ottawa. So we've got 4 really great organizations who are at different stages of their journeys that they'll be sharing with you. All of them are on various journeys. Some organizations have been on several journeys: organizational excellence, healthy workplace, and mental health. And I'm sure we'll hear from them directly all about that. Now, before I introduce today's moderator, who will then introduce the panel, I'd like to just invite everybody to please put in your diary. I've mentioned the 40th anniversary. This is a special anniversary for the Canada Award for Excellence, which was founded 40 years ago under Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, the late Prime Minister. We have invited his son, Ben Mulroney, to come and receive an award in his honor on his behalf. And we've got several other people, dignitaries. We invited Mary Simon, the Governor General, hopefully will come this time. We invite her every year. Hopefully she'll come like David Johnson did a few years ago, or at the very least invite us all to go to Rideau Hall like Michael Jean did when Michael Jean was Governor General. She invited all the winners to Rideau Hall. But so please diarize October 28th. October 28th, it's going to be at the Delta Hotel again. Many of you were at the Delta Hotel last year. Everybody liked their venue. It's a great venue right downtown Toronto. It's a cozy venue right across from the Metro Convention Center. We do have rooms reserved, so if you're coming from out of town, I'm not sure how many are still available. Rooms were like scarcer than hen's teeth, because a couple of days later, there's somebody coming to Toronto to perform for a few days. You may have heard of her, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's coming in. The hotel rooms are booked up like crazy, so we actually moved our summit further up a couple of weeks. It was meant to be November 15. And we moved it up to October 28th because of the Taylor factor. There was no rooms available. I tried to get Taylor to come and sing the anthem for us, for opening anthem, for to do the land acknowledgement, but she's evidently busy on that day. But as I said, we do have a great program lined up, and you can welcome to have a look at it on our website, excellencesummit.ca. Excellencesummit.ca. We've got some fantastic speakers, and so we'll also have a panel. And it should be a very, very interesting day talking about success and innovation and what's happening in the world. So lots of stuff. So please register, show your support for your organization for Excellence Canada. We're looking for this to be a sold-out event. And so we can accommodate 450 people. And we'd love to see, I know Devin, last year, you're an award recipient. I think you brought 15 people. I don't know if you chartered a plane or whatever, but we really did appreciate the support. The record is still Durham Social Services. Hugh Druin is on our board. When they won the award, he had 5 tables. I think there were 50 people from Durham Social Services. So that's the benchmark to reach. Okay, so no further ado. I look forward to seeing all of you October 28th, and I'll remind you a bit later on. But now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the moderator of today's panel, a lady who's done tremendous work, who's the epitome of excellence and been a great support of Excellence Canada, Cindy Taylor. Excuse me. Cindy Taylor. Cindy is Carleton University's Associate Vice President of Human Resources and has been inspiring and leading organizations and organizational excellence, mental health, and healthy workplace initiatives at the university since she joined in 2007. when you're probably 14 years old, Cindy, no doubt. Today, Carleton's leadership actively supports a culture of continuous learning and improvement that stimulates staff engagements and contributions and builds a safe and healthy community for all. And a few years ago, we had the president and chancellor, vice chancellor, Benoit Bacon come speak at our event, and I'm pleased to say that he's accepted an invitation now. He's going to be one of our speakers this year. He's now president, vice chancellor of UBC. So Cindy has been a volunteer of awards. Many of you may even know her from being awards and submissions, and has just been a tremendous resource for us, and we're really very grateful. So thank you so much, Cindy, for all of your contributions in the past and for leading today's panel. So with no further ado, over to you, Cindy.
Great, Alan. Thank you so much for those kind words. And it's a pleasure for me to be here today to moderate. And I just see a lot of people, the names I recognize. It's good to see you. And for those who I'm just meeting for the first time, welcome. Before we get started, I would like to start with a land acknowledgement. So here at Carleton University, we are situated on the traditional, unceded, and surrendered territory of the Algonquin Nation. This territory acknowledgement runs deeper than words, as it invites all of us to consider the ways in which we pursue conciliation with Indigenous people. We are meeting virtually today. I ask you to think about where you live and work, the lands that you are engaging with in your response to the ongoing relations with the Indigenous people. Thank you. So as Alan mentioned, we have three distinguished guests to share their stories today around excellence and provides insights to us on the future of excellence, given that we are celebrating a Ruby celebration of 40 years. I'd like to introduce the panelists to you now. So I'll start with Katrina Kraus, who is with the Health and Disability Services Supervisor for the City of Kamloops in British Columbia. Since 2021, Katrina has led the City of Kamloops in managing health and disability services, including the creation of the city's first mental health strategy in 2022. Katrina chairs the city's Total Wellness Committee, which rebranded and refocused under their lead to make a more holistic approach to wellness. The city's wellness journey focuses on developing and sustaining an organizational culture of well-being that encourages collaboration, resilience, and a shared commitment to prioritizing employee wellness. Prior to their time in the public sector with the City of Kamloops, Katrina worked in the private industry with Westhauser Canada and Tech Highland Valley Copper, developing and launching several strategies, programs, campaigns, and events centered around employee wellness. City of Kamloops are in the infancy stage of their journey. They have completed the rapid assessments against the Healthy Workplace Standard Gold level. So welcome, Katrina. Now to Devin Roberts. Devin Roberts is a dedicated education leader with over 20 years experience in the field of education. Devin is the Superintendent of Education with the Beaufort Delta Division Education Council in the Northwest Territories. Thanks to Devin's leadership, his school district has seen record gains in literacy and numeracy. 2021 and 2022 were banner years for Canadian Achievement Tests in grades 4 to 9. Devin was recently named Superintendent of the Year for the Northwest Territories in 2024. In November of 2023, Beaufort Delta Division Education Council was awarded with the Silver Award for Excellence, for Organized Excellence with Excellence Canada. So welcome, Devin. Paula Zuro is the Executive Officer of the Canadian Forces Housing Agency and has held this position since 2022. She has 20 years of experience in the infrastructure sector. Prior to this appointment, Paula served as the Senior Director of Architecture and Engineering Services, Public Services and Procurement Canada, as well as the Director of Public Works and Infrastructure, Municipality of Chelsea, Quebec. Paula is a professional engineer licensed in Quebec and Ontario and holds a master's degree in international business management and a master's degree in international relations and communications. The Canadian Forces Housing Agency has reached platinum and is seeking the Order of Excellence, Organizational Excellence Standard this year. Thank you all for participating in the panel discussion today. We have asked each panel to share their journey to excellence, followed by insights of future excellence. Each panelist will have approximately 15 minutes to speak. I would ask you to hold any questions that you have until all the panelists have spoken, at which point I will invite questions, and there is a question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. We'll ask that you keep your computer on mute, and Michael might have made sure that you have done that, so that might not be an issue. So with that, I'm going to invite Katrina to begin. So over to you, Katrina.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Cindy. Good afternoon, everyone, and hello from the West Coast. As Cindy noted, my name is Katrina Kraus, and I am the Health and Disability Services Supervisor at the City of Kamloops in British Columbia. My pronouns are she, her, and I am grateful to work and play on the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwepemc Nation. Today, I'm here to speak about the City of Kamloops' excellence journey. From where we started, to where we are, to what's next. Before I jump in, I thought I'd share a little bit about me. I am passionate about leadership, mental health, and driving positive and effective change within an organization. I've been embedded in the professional field of disability management for over 15 years, first in forestry, then in mining, and now in the municipal government. In 2020, I made the decision to step away from employee wellness and focused on technological change in the mining environment. I was a business improvement coordinator focused on facilitating and supporting leaders through technological advancement. I supported Tech's Race 21 initiatives, and I embedded change management into a resistant organization. Being a people leader my whole career, who knew that I would actually develop a liking for spreadsheets and data analytics? But of course, when you have a passion, you don't stay away long. In late 2021, I left the mining industry and returned to a people-centered career with the City of Kamloops, bringing my new continuous improvement skills and styles with me. The City of Kamloops journey started over 20 years ago, in approximately 2002, when the first wellness committee, called Wellness Works at the time, was created. The Wellness Works Committee organized a variety of initiatives around employee well-being with a primary focus on physical health. As you can imagine, like many organizations, what was done was more of a reactionary approach, addressing issues as they arose, and really throwing ideas and initiatives against the wall to see what would stick. In 2019, the City of Kamloops identified a need for a forward-looking, strategic, and systemic approach to mental health. In 2021, I joined the city and started working toward that need. The city's first mental health strategy was created, approved, and launched in Q1 of 2022. The key objectives of the strategy included, 1, really understanding our organization. What was our current state? What were our gaps? And we were going to implement Guarding Minds at Work to take a look at that. Number 2 was building the mental health culture by raising awareness through knowledge and resource sharing. And number 3 was really measuring what matters. That time I said about working with continuous improvement really helped me understand why KPIs mattered. We created a mental health committee, scheduled knowledge growth and stigma reducing activities and training, and began our engagement in the Guarding Minds process. Our senior leadership team obtained their psychological health and safety for senior leaders certificate through the BC Municipal Safety Association to showcase that they were ready to walk the talk. We identified that our most significant psychosocial factor gap, our real area to improve, was our organizational culture. Not an uncommon result. Guarding Minds results in hand, we started our roadshow to spread the word right across the organization. We were excited and ready. Grand statements were made. We hear you. We're driving change. You asked, and we are going to make a difference. Let's work together to change this culture. But the same comments and questions continue to come up. Yes, yes, let's do it. But how? By 2023, with a better understanding of what our organization wanted and needed, we had refocused our attention on holistic wellness, encompassing physical, emotional, social, financial, academic, environmental, and spiritual pillars. We combined our wellness works and mental health committees, creating a total wellness committee that supported our HR and safety objectives, as well as our corporate strategic plan. We had created a vision to develop and sustain an organizational culture of well-being that encouraged collaboration, resilience, and a shared commitment to prioritize employee wellness. But we really still didn't have a fulsome game plan. We wanted to create and deliver on short and longer term objectives. We wanted to measure our KPIs. We wanted to fully embrace organizational culture. We knew what underlying and conceptual changes we needed to make to be a top employer and to chart our path to excellence. But there it was again, the how. How are we going to achieve it? What were the actual steps? Enter Excellence Canada. Unlike many of my fellow panelists today, the City of Kamloops is in the infancy of our journey. We first engaged with them in mid-2023, slowly navigating our options with an energetic and knowledgeable team who helped guide us in pursuing the framework of the Healthy Workplace Standard. We kicked off 2024 with our total wellness proposal, pitching to our senior leadership team that engaging with Excellence Canada appeared to be the right match for our organization. Their vision aligned with ours. The Healthy Workplace Standard embedded the 13 psychosocial factors, and it could help us leverage the work we had done in the last 2 years. And also, the Excellence Canada team could support us in generating the strategic framework for adaptation within our organization. Our recommendation was unanimously supported, and we were off. Armed with information, passion, and excitement, we engaged in the rapid assessment of March of this year, rating ourselves against the gold level of the Healthy Workplace Standard. While we were not quite there yet, we are much closer than many of us thought we would be. We have identified key areas of focus, and the recommendations provided have given us a clearer path to success. I would like to take a quick moment here to say thank you to Karen Jackson, Senior Advisor, Healthy Workplace, and to Jennifer Alia, I may have butchered the last name a little bit there, VP of Business Development with Excellence Canada, for their support in the start of our journey. So the big question, what does the future hold? What's next? For the City of Kamloops, we have a long journey ahead of us. Organizational culture does not change overnight, but we are prepared for the journey. We are creating change champions every day to join us and are striving to give the appropriate time needed to combine a strategic approach with natural change. We plan on taking the recommendations of the rapid assessment to build our short and longer term implementation plan, including costing of consulting support from Excellence Canada, resourcing, and a fulsome change management plan, with the hopes that we will soon be applying for our first award. The City of Kamloops is dedicated to this culture promotion and shift, and as author and inspirational speaker Simon Sinek once said, there are only 2 ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate it, or you can inspire it. I look forward to driving an organizational culture full of inspiration. Thank you for your time today, and I appreciate having the opportunity to share our journey with you.
Thank you so much, Katrina, for your passionate insight into the City of Kamloops journey. And I really liked when you talked about the rapid assessment. You know, what most people discover when they do an assessment is there's lots of strengths, and then what are the areas to focus. So thank you for highlighting that. And we'll look forward to more questions that you can answer later on. So Devin, over to you now.
Drin Gwinzi of Lumi, Shuri Devin Bilgi of Anga Tiga Devin. Hello, my name is Devin. I'm the Superintendent of Education with the Beaufort Delta Divisional Education Council. I join you today from the traditional lands of the Inuvialuit and the Gwich'in peoples, and it's an honor and privilege to work and play here. And it's certainly an honor and privilege to represent the Beaufort Delta Divisional Education Council as the superintendent, I was appointed by the District Education Authority representing 8 of our communities, as well as our 2 Indigenous governments, the Innivallo Regional Corporation and the Gwich'in Tribal Council, to hold the position that I currently hold. So it's certainly thinking about the land is on our minds often, and certainly in the role that I serve, it's very much a part of way of life and thinking for me on a regular basis. Serving primarily an Indigenous population here of Gwich'in and Innivallo students. So just to tell you a little bit about the Beaufort Delta Divisional Education Council, as I alluded to, we represent 8 communities in the Beaufort and Delta regions of the Northwest Territories. We have approximately 1,400 students in those 8 communities. We have 9 schools, and so if you check us out geographically, we're the most northern ed body in the Northwest Territories, and in the country. We're just right next to the Arctic Circle there around Nunavut, and then Yukon on the other side of us, right? So quite northern, and our work with Excellence Canada and with our strategic plan, which I'll talk about, is very connected to the land and the geography and the people. So thank you. I was really honored to be asked to join this afternoon's panel, and look forward to some questions afterwards. And just wanted to tell you a little bit about our journey with Excellence Canada. So certainly, we've developed a strategic plan, a 5-year vision with the district, and that work really works in tandem with Excellence Canada. So when I talk about our long-term plans, it's really interwoven with our work with Excellence Canada. So that's really great. Several years ago, about 3 years ago, I was just trying to find out a little more information about Excellence Canada, and I just was trying to look up nonprofits or organizations that might be able to help us. And we are, like I said, a JK to grade 12 public ed body in the Northwest Territory. So as far as I know, we're the only ed body currently working with Excellence Canada. There are other educational institutions like Carleton, for example, University of Cindy's representing today. So there's other educational institutes, but I didn't know of any current K to 12 or JK to 12 systems. So I found that actually quite intriguing, that we could work with a different organization. And certainly all the networking that comes with being a partner with Excellence Canada, I'd say, is one of the first things that I noticed early in our journey, was just the events that you host virtually, like today. I found that I myself learned a lot just through that networking. But like I said, several years ago, we approached Excellence Canada, and we were put in touch with Catherine Neville, who was our coach. And again, you mentioned a rapid assessment, Katrina. We did the same thing with the leadership team. Initially, we did a rapid assessment of our strengths and any kind of limitations or things that we need to work on. And again, that work with Catherine I found really interesting, because my leadership team is 3 educators, and Catherine has a different background. So, looking at our system and our organization through the lens of Excellence Canada, the drivers of leadership in particular that we were looking at, and those 24 outcomes, were somewhat different than what we might look at as educators and teachers and former principals working in a public education system setup. So that alone was a good exercise for us. And so initially, the beginning work with Excellence Canada was very focused on the leadership team and working with Catherine, but then we were able to reach out to people. And so at the same time, we were trying to develop a strategic plan for the ed body that was a shared vision. So something that everyone would feel a part of, including all employees. We have 328 employees approximately. So that's a large group for us anyway. So we're a large employer. We want to reach out to all of those employees, teachers, support assistants, secretaries, people like that. Also all the students that I mentioned. We have 1,400 students, and then all their families that come with that, right? So a large amount of stakeholders involved. I mentioned the 2 Indigenous governments. We also have locally elected district education authorities, which are called DEAs. So we have 8 of those, 1 in each community, and they sit on a district council with those 2 Indigenous governments. So lots of stakeholders to work with. So that's how we were able to work with Catherine. She looked at the pillars and the drivers of change with organizational Excellence Canada, and she started hosting interviews with first trustees, like board members, and then eventually we reached out to the public. I wrote a letter with Catherine and reached out to parents and guardians. And so Catherine created focus groups and interviews with parents and guardians, and reached out to the public to get information and feedback. And so while we took all that in, we were measuring ourselves against Excellent Canada standards, but we're also creating a strategic plan that we became quite proud of. And so we designed the plan in 2021-22, and then we started really sharing that plan out publicly. And again, our coach with Excellence Canada, Catherine, was involved in sharing out that vision. We also hired our former superintendent, who was retired, to do more reach out and interviews with families on the ground. So she lives in the region. So Catherine did things remotely and virtually. And then Denise, our former superintendent, was able to follow up with people as well. So we got a lot of engagement, a lot of really good public engagement. And what came from that, as you can see, would be, you know, that focus on organizational excellence. We started a verification process last fall around that, but we also created, like I said, a strategic plan, and it became focused on three I's, we call it. So indigenized education, inclusive schooling, and inquiry-based practices for teaching pedagogy. And we thought those three I's went together really well. An inquiry education delivery model works really well with Indigenous values, Indigenous ways of seeing things. And that was the input we got from the trustees and the parents, that they felt like that was a nice merging of philosophy. So we have that focus on three I's, where students in particular are experimenting and learning like hands-on, as opposed to just passively kind of learning. They do the speaking and talking. We develop their oracy skills. Oral tradition is very important here. So these were all information and feedback that we got from parents and guardians through some of that Excellence Canada consultation. And it meshed well with some current research around education. If you look at like Harvard University, for example, and Project Zero, they're all about inquiry-based education and oral teachings of students and developing their oracy, their actual ability to speak publicly like I'm doing today. So in the past, we had teachers doing all the talking, and now we have teachers shifting that to the students being the ones presenting, sharing their knowledge, because the memory retention supports that. They would be the ones actually that remember things the best if they're the ones speaking and explaining it. So a lot of that came from that reach out with Catherine initially, just getting feedback. A lot of goodwill was developed as well, like the strategic plan being written and shared. It's on our website. I can share out the link after I speak. We have a 5-year vision, and all that was shared publicly as well. So that kind of consultation was really good. And through that, like I said, Catherine did develop some information for us to consider as a leadership team around equity and diversity in particular, like developing an EDI policy that we didn't have. So that was something new that we created thanks to our work with Excellence Canada. And then we started filling out that verification process, striving towards the Organizational Excellence Award, Silver Award first. And I have to be honest, we started that verification process, I figured we would send it in and get some feedback and keep working with Catherine. And then but that was a really interesting process. So through that, she did a number of days of focus groups with employees in particular. And they verified all the information that we had shared with Excellence Canada, and again, against all those drivers and those 24 essential outcomes. And that was really great because, again, it engaged staff. And just around best practices, one thing that we did that might be a little different from some companies or organizations is we made all of our work with Excellence Canada voluntary, even for employees. So we did not ask employees, we didn't make employees go to the sessions. They just signed up and did that voluntary. And we just felt like that built a lot of goodwill and trust with employees. We also sent out surveys. So if they didn't have time to do a focus group, we gave them surveys and opportunity to share information with senior leadership, and they could do that anonymously or put their name to it. That was up to them. We also made sure that the work with Excellence Canada was job embedded. It wasn't after school or after work. And so after a number of days of working with Catherine, we got even more feedback. They went through the verification process, and then, yeah, we're on a little bit of a different journey where we did actually get acknowledged for an award in November. So we, as Alan mentioned, we took a large delegation down, and because it's our work with the shared vision and trying to improve indigenized education and inquiry-based practices in particular, and decolonizing our education system, when you think of residential schools and the history and legacy of education publicly in the North and across Canada, this work's incredibly important with the public, right? So building that trust with the public, Excellence Canada is one way that we do that. And so we wanted to really celebrate our achievement in November with the Organizational Excellence Silver Award. So we brought down a large delegation of 15 members of the District Education Authority, as well as staff that were able to travel down. So we really shared it amongst the communities. And then on top of that, we've tried to promote it more. So we have like, we got some swag. So I can show you that, like, we have these toques, unique toques in the north. So we have the organizational excellence patch, as well as our district logo here. And again, we have a nice bright green one for the dark that looks kind of like the Northern Lights. So we've been promoting the award, and we got a certificate. And so they gave us one initially, and I asked that we could get 9. So we have this up at all our schools as well. Because we have 9 schools and 8 communities, we wanted to make sure that we celebrated in the district. And so since we came back in November, we also we've had dinners, or we've had assemblies where we've acknowledged this award that we've won to create more excitement about it. And we have banners that we put up in our gyms as well with this silver award of excellence. So organizational excellence award, and the Excellence Canada logo is up in our gymnasiums at our schools. And so our work with Excellence Canada is not done. It was really exciting to get this award, and as you can see, we're promoting it, but it's also raising awareness about the engagement. I think that the number one best practice, or things that we've learned about, is just another opportunity as a public ed body to engage the public in consultation or work. So if you think about truth and reconciliation, this is a really great opportunity for people to feel like they have voice, choice, and agency in education, whether it's the students or the family. So we're using Excellence Canada as a way to reach out. If they're comfortable, they can reach out to us directly as staff, but maybe Catherine is a safe person who isn't directly connected to the organization as an employee, and can share that information with names attached or anonymously. They know that information around how we could improve will go directly to senior leadership, unfiltered and however they want. So it comes on kind of their terms as the public. So I found that work with Catherine's really been helpful. And so we continue to send out letters and raise awareness on how they can approach Catherine. So as far as for us, like what the future holds, I would say, again, our work around truth and reconciliation, we have a long way to go. We'll continue to do more public consultation and involve others in our long-term strategic plan, but we're very excited about the 3 I's, and we think we're on the right track. But certainly more work needs to be done with decolonization, reconciliation. We need to improve our student attendance, and just engage employees in a different way as well. And I just wanted to say holistically to all the organizations out there, I think as far as the future goes for working with Excellence Canada and just improving, I think the labor market's really shifted. I think we have to think better about how we treat employees, health and wellness, working conditions need to improve. So I think Excellence Canada is a way to do that. And I think with the labor market changing and evolving, if you think of like the 1980s and sort of that focus on stakeholders and profits, that's really changed in businesses and in public institutions, and shifting from that mindset to what's best for the public, what's best for wellness, how are we going to keep people. I think that some of those changes are really coming. And then, of course, changes in technology like artificial intelligence is headed our way. So we're developing policies with Excellence Canada on equity, but we also need one around AI and how to use AI as a learning tool, as well as how to work and educate youth about AI and what it means for communication and the internet, and just simply even something as simple as passing in a paper and using ChatGPT. So AI is the present and the future. I think improvements to health and wellness in the workplace and the labor market, how it's shifted. There's a bit of a teacher shortage in Canada right now, so we have to think and be strategic in how we become enticing as an employer, and how we create safe and inclusive environments for teachers to feel like they have autonomy and support in the classroom as well. Has really been a thought of ours as employers. And I think some of that work with Excellence Canada goes really well with it, because our work with Catherine engages teachers, employees to share, how they see the workplace and how they can make it better. So we were really thrilled to get the silver award in November, and we plan to strive for gold next. We don't know if we're going to get it, in next year or in 2 years. We're not in a rush. For us, the big best practice is just that engagement and involving everyone, so that the vision that we have is shared. And one way of doing that is just having Excellence Canada be a sounding board for our employees, our parents and guardians, and just creating more awareness about what we're trying to do as an ed council. So we plan to continue our work with Excellence Canada into next year, and hopefully throughout the next 5 years with our long-term strategic plan. So big thank you to Catherine, and thank you for the invite. And as we say here in the Beaufort Delta, Koinani, Juana, Haicho, Masi, for everything that you've done so far. Thank you.
Evan, thank you so much for sharing your journey, and also I think I really appreciated the complexity of your journey and how all your stakeholders and how you've gone about that and the benefits from that strategic plan and impact on students and students doing better. It's just a wonderful story. So we look forward to following you in your journey as well. So thank you for that. And we hopefully will have some questions for you later as well. So now to Paula is next. So over to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Paula Zero. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Canadian Housing, the CFHA, the Canadian Forces Housing Agency. I'm joining you today from Ottawa in the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. I really like to thank Excellence Canada and Alan here for the invitation. We are very excited to share our journey. We started in 2005, so almost 20 years of journey now. In the previous iterations of the framework, we started with two frameworks. The first one being the healthy workplace, and then the one focused on management. And then we shifted into the organizational excellence standard. I'll just give you a brief overview of our organization. We are part of the the Department of National Defense, but we are a special operating agency with 375 employees. We manage housing for Canadian Armed Forces families across all of the 27 bases across the country. So we are a geographically distributed organization with most of the employees in the head office in Ottawa. In 2005, there had been 10 years since the organization was created, and we were at a crossroads. And I wasn't there, by the way. I joined in 2022, so I can't take any credit of this journey. I just come for the end of it, which is great to see all the benefits. But in 2005, CFHA was an organization that did not have a lot of employee retention. We had not a great financial management, and our customers were not highly satisfied. So at that point, the organization decided to look outside and find a solution. And they found the solution in Excellence Canada through these frameworks and through the resources and the training that Excellence Canada provided. We have been on a journey of iteration as an iterative process where we are looking at our gaps, learning from where we are, looking at getting the feedback and listening to the feedback from stakeholders, from our customers, and from our staff, and learning from the verifiers that are very helpful into helping us find solutions. And through that journey, we have managed to increase our employee retention or financial management. Right now, we are one of the stars in the Department of National Defense. We're recognized for spending our budget and without any surplus and without any deficit, but just spending it efficiently, effectively. So we are really happy with the results that we have received through the process. I'll tell you, it didn't come without challenges. One of the challenges we found was that because we have 27 site offices and a head office, so it has been a bit challenging to cascade down the journey throughout all of our offices and our staff, to the point that at one point in 2022, the management committee, we decided maybe we should start focusing more on the benefits of the journey rather than necessarily the certification. Because through feedback from our staff, we heard that there may have been some disengagement in the process of our site offices, for example, here in thinking that this was a head office-led exercise. And although there's loads of benefits that everybody through the organization are feeling, this has come so ingrained in the organization that they're not everybody links it to Excellence Canada and the journey, because we have been at this for 20 years. So now with our health and safety committees or processes or governance, everything's so well established that unless staff were here from the beginning, sometimes they don't make the linkages between the journey and the Excellence Canada certification and what we are living today. But as management, we decided, well, for us, it's not important the certification in communicating these to staff, for us, it is important that they see the benefits and that we continue to work in improving and meeting our gaps. So the other challenge we live was we are public sector. So in a way, we have frameworks, we have policies and regulations, which is good because we are not starting from scratch, but it can also make us very slow and not agile in the way we adopt innovation and the way we change. So that definitely has been a challenge. As a special operating agency, we benefit from more flexibilities. So we are a bit more agile than the traditional departments, but we are still operating under a certain framework of security and public acts and regulations and processes. So that's our second challenge. All to say that we've come a long way. Right now, we are looking to certify in the Order of Excellence this year. Not sure that we'll get it, we'll see. But again, that's not the point. Management committee is very excited, and all of our staff that are implicated in the process are very excited about continuing the journey. If there's one thing we have learned is that it's more about the journey than getting the reward or the certification at the end. In fact, we weren't sure whether, and this was maybe my question point, is do we want to really certify in the Order of Excellence? Because we don't want to finish this journey. And I think that what we know now is that it's not ever going to be finished, because we know now it's so ingrained in our DNA that we know we need to continue looking at ourselves and improving every year, and looking in through our business planning and all of our governance exercise. We're looking at what else can be done, and we are never going to be done. There is so many factors we don't control. Like there is, we had COVID recently with this artificial intelligence. There's so many things. And if we know something, is that we don't know the future. What we know is that we're agile and that we are committed to continuous improvement and to adapt. So that's the only way we're going to face the future and what the future is going to bring us. So I think that's all I had for you today, but thank you so much. And I look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you so much, Paula. What an amazing story. And you think about your complexity as well, but you were this department within this big organization, and yet you were able to do things on your own, and you own and embedded the excellence, which is, I think Excellence Canada would be very proud of that. That's what it's all about. So thank you for that, and your insights to the future of excellence. So I just want to thank all of you for sharing your insights. For me, I've been working in this field for too many years, and I always come listen to people and take away and think, wow, what a success. What are the things that I could do? So I really thank you for your vision and your strategies today. So let's move on to questions. So do we have any questions? And if you do, just pop them into the questions and I'll read them. And Paula has offered to respond to questions in French if that is more convenient and helpful for people. Okay, so from Reza, thanks, Paula. What was your silver bullet to cure the problem you pointed out to attract the trust of the people internally and selling them the excellence journey?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So one of the things CFHA did was to engage in the process and communicate it. So there was a commitment from management in the organization to improve the environment and to improve the organization. One of the first things was to adopt values. So engage everybody in the organization to develop and adopt some values where everybody felt reflected. And even though we were not at the end of the journey, at least knowing and seeing at the beginning of the journey that there was a commitment to a journey and that there were some shared values and a shared vision, that was really helpful. One of the other things that was really helpful was to have a dedicated resource. So from the beginning, the organization decided that to continue this momentum, we needed somebody to lead us and to push us there. And so we had a dedicated resource from the beginning that has been very helpful to continue to guide us through the journey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Reza also has a question for Katrina. Is there any process in the city of Kamloops to visit and learn from you by other cities or groups?
No, great question. Because we're in the infancy of our journey, we've not done a lot of outward facing communication at this point. We do have our council strategic plan posted on kamloops.ca, and then we have an internal corporate strategic plan. But I will post my email address in here as well, my contact information, and I'm always open for just one-on-one conversation to talk further about our journey to this point.
Thank you, Katrina. Any other questions? Maybe while we're waiting for some questions, I'll just open up to the panel. And something that we ask sometimes when we do verifications is, what was the smallest change that made the biggest impact for your journey so far?
So for us, I think it was the values, adopting values. It's something that any organization can do regardless of the budget. And that went a long way to align us towards the same goals and the same way of working.
Okay, thank you. Devin, Katrina, any thoughts?
Go ahead, Katrina.
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, being in the entry part of our journey, the smallest change for us was probably just really getting those change champions embedded. And so that goes a long way because it really generates the conversation at all levels of the organization, and they start doing some of that work for you in regards to the communication piece.
Thank you. Devin.
Yeah, I think the engagement with the coaches was like really impactful. And then some of the feedback we got was around communication. So just some processes that needed to be improved around how we could communicate directly with employees. Sometimes we had a tendency to like send information just to supervisors, and we started changing some of our processes if it was applicable or appropriate. So just improving communication internally was some feedback we got that was really impactful, like right away, easy to implement. And then further that, just that engagement with the public, I think was very impactful, but that took a little bit longer. But you having Catherine and just raising awareness, even the swag itself, like what is that logo, right? Like raising awareness on the initiative has been very impactful as well. So both types of communication, but internally and then externally with the public.
Excellent, thank you. And I'll keep you here, Devin, because Ian has a question for you. I am really fascinated in the inquiry-based education model. Can Devin chat a bit more about it? I would like to adopt it as George Brown College Business School.
Yes, so lots of research out there around inquiry. We actually hired two consultants, one Trevor McKenzie from British Columbia, Jessica Vance from Austin, Texas, published authors around inquiry in the elementary and high school settings, but certainly lots of information out there. And a lot of their work is stemmed in Project Zero from Harvard as well. So when we're talking about inquiry, really inquiry is just a fancy word for curiosity, first of all. So it's just about human nature and being curious. And if you can find a student or an adult and tap into their curiosity, you're going to get engagement and excitement. So we're really trying to find out fundamentally what students are excited and interested in. So part of our journey is the first 6 weeks of the academic year. We really focus on getting to know the students. We call it community of learners, and it comes from an inquiry mindset where we learn more about the students' interests and build around that afterwards. So strength-based programming, fostering curiosity with our students has really helped with engagement. But inquiry means a lot of things to different people in the field of education. So Project Zero has a number of provocations, thinking routines, ORC strategies, instructional strategies that help get students do the speaking and talking, because we know through the memory research that they'll be the ones that do the remembering and the learning if they're the ones that are able to coach and support others, peers in particular, and then sharing out class-wide. So building up those ORC skills is really important in students. So that's where that focus from inquiry comes. But the inquiry moves, I'd recommend Harvard University Project Zero, and then some of those other educational consultants like Trevor McKenzie and Jessica Vance, published authors that are really current on that inquiry research. And the other piece I'll just briefly mention is it really does connect well to Indigenous ways of knowing and doing. And so that's really important too, that oral history and that experiencing the learning, not just passively sitting at a desk. Listening is not a traditional way of learning. It's actually doing something is really important too.
Thank you for that, Devin. And I don't know, and this probably should be for Alan and Excellence Canada, if your email addresses could be circulated if people want to get in touch with you, or you can put them. I noticed Katrina put hers in the chat. So you might want to do that, Devin, in case Ian would like to talk to you further more about it. It's very interesting. So thank you for that. Any other questions? What other questions might we have? Here we go. Ian, again, is it inherent to the Indigenous way of learning? And I think you've sort of answered that. But if you want,
yes, it is. And that's how we were able to sell the public ed body on it as well. So that council I mentioned are made up of the Indigenous governments, and then the DEA members themselves are Indigenous. So when we started looking at oral tradition, as well as being active in the learning, right? So it's really about experiential learning. It's about, like I said, doing something. It isn't just about the traditional, maybe more colonial way of sitting at a desk and taking notes. It's really about being active in your learning, but also being excited and engaged in what you are naturally curious about. Really fits well with the Indigenous ways of knowing and doing. Absolutely.
thank you. And from Dawn Ringrose, and I think Dawn is from out west, for each panel member, given your experience with the Excellence Journey, please comment about how the culture in your organization has shifted. And I wonder, Paula, if you would like to start?
Sure. So, I mean, it has shifted completely from a disengagement. We started in 2005, employee disengagement, to now everybody working together towards a vision, towards a mission, towards the same goals, and also working in a client-centered approach, respectful teamwork, and being aware that we are always going to have to improve. So you know, everybody's open to change and to learning. So it has been, I would say, for us, our organization has shifted completely in the last 19 years.
Great, thank you for that insight. Katrina.
Yeah, again, being in the beginning of our journey, we have a lot more work to do, but the shift we've seen so far and what we have done has really happened at our senior leadership level and then at our frontline level. We've recognized one of our gaps still, and this is a part of the journey, is still in our middle section of our organization. We have approximately 950 people as a part of our organization, so we're still working on driving some change within some different areas.
Okay, great, thank you. Devin.
Yeah, I think again around the engagement and communication sort of in the shift, I think showing that we're open to feedback as well has built a lot of trust with employees. So just being willing as leaders to take information and from Catherine or from the employees that may or may not be complimentary. Like, it isn't all about just getting the award, it's about the growth and showing that you're making change. And I think the other piece around that is actually implementing the suggestions. So when they see a new policy come out or they see us trying to communicate in a different way from that feedback, that builds momentum and trust. And so now I think the journey will continue. Yes, we got an award in November, but we're going to keep trying to make improvements. And I think we get more staff joining those focus groups and getting involved when they start building up that trust and seeing that we're trying to work with them, right? So again, the Indigenous ways of knowing and doing, a lot of it's through relationships. In the Western world, sometimes we're very task-oriented, trying to get things done. Whereas in the Indigenous ways of learning and doing, it's about building relationships first and trust. So it also fits really well with that Indigenous way of seeing the world. We're trying to build stronger relationships with students and families and employees. And so it fits really well with that pillar around relational learning and just that supporting the Indigenous ways of seeing the world and that Indigenous perspective. So that really grounds us in building trust and using the Dene Kide and the Akadikik curriculums, or elders curriculums that were developed in the mid-90s for us. But we really just started using them really strongly, I would argue, since we built the strategic plan alongside Excellence Canada. So I think circling back to those elders teachings is also building a lot of trust and relationships.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And just to let you know, Devin, Ian would certainly like to chat with you. So hopefully Alan can connect the two of you. So we're at 4:29. Our time is up and we've come to the end. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the 3 panelists for their stories and insights. It's been really inspiring. For me, the future of excellence is ever stronger and ever needed as we navigate these ever-changing times. The insights and experiences shared today highlight the importance of continuous improvement, innovation, and resilience. I want to thank you once again to our panelists and all participants. Let's continue striving for excellence in all that we do. We look forward to seeing you at the Ruby Jubilee celebrating 40 years of Canadian Awards for Excellence, October 28th. Alan, thank you for letting us know. We better book our rooms now because if anyone's like me, I'll be booking it the night before. So I hope this Thought Leaders Roundtable session has inspired all of you. It certainly has inspired me. I'm in awe of the 3 of you. So thank you so much.
Right, and thank you, Cindy, for a great job moderating and for bringing us all together, and the pre-work we've done, and for all of the panelists. The success stories were terrific, and your strengths and opportunities were really, I think we all learned a lot from each one of you. So thank you so much. I also noticed, by the way, we have somebody from Switzerland online today. We have Nikki from Switzerland, who's probably 9:30 at 10:30 at night, but she came to join us. So good to have you on the call, Cindy, Nikki. This session has been recorded, by the way, so we will make it available to everybody. If any of you want to go back and share it with your team, it has been recorded, and we'll make this available to everybody. So the only thing separating you from your evening activities or the afternoon activities, depending where you are, is me. So I'll keep this brief. Have a wonderful summer. Great to see you, and we look forward to seeing all of you October 28th at the 40th Jubilee in Toronto. Thank you all so very much. This meeting is adjourned. Have a great evening. Thanks, everybody.